Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. I am the West African correspondent, Amara. Welcome to the latest news update. Focus on Liberia uses this particular time to ensure that we inform, we educate, and we entertain you. Especially we come to you with latest development on the continent, things that actually matters to Africa. Focus on Liberia uses this huge opportunity to go on the globe, get the latest news, and we also try to analyze to you things that are actually affecting our continent. Today we are having a lot of interesting stories that we are definitely going to discuss, and these things definitely we have a reflection on Africa, and we try to deep down into Sierra Leone election process. With me here I have a veteran freelancer, a journalist who have been into this system for quite a long time. He knows about the knocks and crowns into Sierra Leone. He knows about what we are about to discuss. He will actually be analyzing to you the electionary process into Sierra Leone. We are going to see about the PRO system, that is the proportional representative system that Sierra Leone has now adopted. Then we are also going to watch at the atmosphere around the current election. Sierra Leone is definitely going to conduct an election before Liberia. Liberia definitely will be conducting an election in October, while Sierra Leone's own election is slated on the 24th of May of June 2023. So we are going to set the precedent here. In doing so, we may want to see how different things are going to play here, and maybe it will have a very positive reflection on that of Liberia, because this is a kind Sierra Leone is a sister country to Liberia. So Mr. Dixon Nasiruddin, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Yeah, thank you very much, Edward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Today we are having, definitely going to dig down into my international stories. But first, let's see, what is your general perception about our slated election for June 2024? 2023, I mean.
Well, perception varies. Basically, if we look at the conduct of the electoral campaign going on, is something else. And when you talk about the divisiveness within the country, it's also a perception that is serious and significant. But then when you look at the unity, the coalition, the mobilization of political parties coming together to support candidates is also something that is also very significant. And another perception might be that at the 11th hour, very close, in almost about 2 weeks to election, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, releasing money to support the government, the incumbent government, which is also something new. It has not been happening. We found out in previous elections, even in the 2018, before the election, monetary support to the nation was suspended or maybe put on a halt. But then this is also different. We also look at the campaign, the election. Before the election, political stakeholders, mainly political parties, were brought together by the PPRC, which is the Political Party Regulation Commission. It used to be a registration commission. So the PPRC brought them together to do an undertaking, and it was overwhelmingly agreed that street rallies should be banned, and that ban took effect except for the country's main opposition that was opposed to it. But basically, at the end of the day, all political parties in the electioneering agree that street rallies should be banned, and campaign messages are delivered at centralized area. So, for example, in Makeni, the APC will call the membership to the party head office in the region in Makeni. The SLPP or other political parties will draw their supporters to the Uzumini Stadium, where they give their political messages, discuss their manifesto promises, and try to win over the electorate. So if you also come now basically to look at the PR system, which for many is new, but from older people it is not new because it was practiced in 1996, which was the national block system, and in 2002 it was the district block system. So basically that's the district block system that is being repeated this time around. And the good thing about it is that we will not be seeing tension that always come with by-elections. Because when we talk about by-election, the concentration of partisan activities is at a specific location, and that creates the tension. Every political party will go at a particular point where there is by-election to exercise political muscle. And that has been creating fear, threat, and on the other hand, it is also a wastage, economic wastage, because basically government spends a lot on by-election. The Electoral Commission recruiting staff for the process throughout, it is heavy. And now, the PR system does not have provision for by-election. For example, if a district has 4 parliamentary seats, in the case of Kailan district, for example, there are 10 seats, parliamentary seats allocated to the district. It was in the previous election, at least so now. So a political party will nominate 20 candidates. And for example, the APC presented 20 parliamentary candidates, the SLPP 20 parliamentary candidates. So at the end of the day, if a political party gets 6 and the other gets 2, so in case of any death, automatically, if your political party loses an MP, a member of parliament, then if we are talking about 10 seats and you got 6 seats, so if one of your members die, that means the one on the number 7 will automatically go to parliament without by-election. So that is all for the other political parties. So if you have 2 and you have 20 candidates, so the number 3 that is on the list will definitely succeed the deceased. So that's it. So that's the good thing. And the other aspect of it, when when we talk about elections in Sierra Leone, it is of tension, a lot of heightening tension when it comes to election. That's what we say. But the good thing, because there are no street rallies, the tension is minimized. And we saw the number 3 largest party, the 3rd largest party, the NGC, National Grand Coalition, throwing support, who was the presidential candidate for the NGC, the party has joined an alliance with the incumbent, the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party. So that is also that has increased the morale of the party in their campaigns. A lot of celebration. Their messages are simple. They count what they count their successes, and then ask the people to give some time again, another 5 years to the president, so that he can do more. On the other hand, you see the opposition, they themselves very optimistic, taking into account the economic situation, the inflation, especially when you talk about the foreign exchange. That is giving the optimism that indeed the people of Sierra Leone will be rejecting the incumbent at the polls. But then recent events unfolding points to something different, because we've seen now, like today, the 12th, I've just read a document claiming to be a release from the All People's Congress, the main opposition party. The party highlighting about 8 or 9 bullet points of why they are not happy with the election. And that release also claimed that on the 14th, Wednesday, the presidential candidate will be addressing the nation. And many are now wondering whether it is we are expecting a boycott. What is happening is the question now people are asking, but it's a popular concern. And then on the other hand, on the 13th, we've just seen another release announcing that 9 other political parties candidates are endorsing the incumbent Tuesday at the Brookfield Hotel in Freetown. So if that is happening on the 13th and the 14th, another message will be coming from the APC. This is becoming interesting, but then it is also becoming confusing for some people who do not actually understand the political dynamics of the country. So these are some of the concerns coming. When you talk about perception, a lot of optimism. Some people believe that this election will come and go as other elections have come, and they've gone. They went in the past. There have been no serious troubles. Of course, there are some at the end of every electionary period. We record some fracas, but those are not things that are enough to change the security situation after the 11-year civil war that ended in 2002, basically.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I think thank you for giving me an in-depth analysis of our pending election, which is actually slated for the 24th of June 2023, and Liberia will also be experiencing her in October, and they are now displaying their voter ID cards or whatsoever. I think this is a very perfect analysis. But can you throw a short light on this? Prior to, before the 2023 elections, the one that was held in 2018, there were campaigns, and those campaigns end up to create huge amount of problem. But for now, I am no longer seeing campaign. Rather, a presidential candidate will come, gather his or her supporters, and try to read their manifesto. Maybe there is more political sensitization, political education. Then we are now seeing some amount of political tolerance. Unlike our previous elections, we are given the constitutional mandate to go ahead and do campaigns. But those campaigns involve a lot of thuggery act, which resulted in the form of arson, people losing their lives and even property, and sometimes even some of those campaigns end up in the chaotic or pandemonium. So how are you viewing the two?
Well, basically, Edward, frankly, a lot of development when we talk about political stability. The attention, this time around, the attention that is going with the election is mainly on social media. Since August 10 last year, we haven't recorded a very serious or any significant political fracas, basically. It is so because, as I started initially by saying that PPRC brought together political parties for an undertaking. That undertaking actually led to the ban on street rallies. You can do your campaign, the political campaign, you can canvass people, but it has to be centralized. When President Bill went to McKinney a few days ago, the supporters were brought to the Uzum Mini Stadium. That's the field. And the messages were given there. All the Alliance, the NGC, other people moving from other political parties, including the main opposition, coming to the ruling party for this election, musicians throwing their support, canvassing their people to join the ruling party because they've done A, B, C, D, and they have to do more. That was all done at that field. And at the end of the day, there was nothing like a kind of attack or political. There was no complete. There was no fight thing at all. There was no attack on the campaign, because what I'm saying here, what I'm trying to stress, previous campaigns in McKinney, when the opposition at that time, now the ruling, the SLPP, used to undertake similar thing, it would end in some chaos, a kind of a disturbing situation, frustrating the opposition party at that time. But from what we learned, that has changed. We've seen APC carry out their rallies in Kailang, Kenemabu, some other areas. Although there have been some either isolated cases or some fracas reported in areas like Pujehun. But when to the PPRC, they've not received, according to their spokespersons, on different media, social media, or conventional media engagements, they say they have not received those complaints that they see on social media. So this system of banning street rallies has a lot of things to offer, and I hope other countries in West Africa will learn from this, because the social media is not helping the situation. When you go out in the street and there is confrontation between two parties, pictures or videos taken of the scene will be used with another scary materials to misinform the public, misinform people. What I mean, people will take videos of other countries, they will take pictures of other massacre, of ugly scenes in different countries from the internet, and they will start sharing it. So if you are a political party, you have your stronghold and your members are attacked in a stronghold of another party, and you see those images, you will definitely capitalize on that and cause mayhem, because you want to revenge that kind of thing. At the end of the day, only to realize that those pictures are not even from Sierra Leone, they are not even from the locality they are claiming, and these are in fact very old pictures. So by the time the information, the reality is established, a lot of wrongs will have been done. So basically, the ban on the rally is producing positive results, as we see, because people gather at a particular location, they get their message, and it's up to them to accept it, to reject it, or to put it into action. So that is actually helping the situation, Eddie.
Okay, thank you very much. I think, as you rightly stated, infodemic is creating more problem than good into countries. It's like some of us, or this Africa, I can say, we are still nurturing our democracy. It's a very young democracy, and the manner in which false information are being disseminated on social media is throwing some youth into chaos, and most of them do not even have the ability or the knowledge on how to vet this information to ascertain if whether what exactly they are saying is true or not, and that is definitely creating problem for Africa. That is why you have been seeing, hearing, and also reading on social media or other websites how certain countries have swiftly moved to ensure that they censor social media when it is ever they have certain emergency or elections at times on hand. Because if you cannot censor the social media, try to vet out certain information, most information will end up to create panic. So we will continue with Sierra Leone. Let me come into Gambia. I'm having a headline here about Gambia. Gambia president hint at a third time. Of course, Adama Barrow came into office in 2018 when he ousted the former president and now a political asylum seeker in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, Yahya Jammeh. Yahya Jammeh was on the helm of Gambia over 30 good years. He was a well-established dictator. He deteriorated the country's economy, bastardized the entire democracy, quality into the Gambia. He created a situation where some people were given the privilege to mastermind the killing of others. Maybe he created a situation where nepotism was on its height, corruption, maladministration was nothing good, and the democracy was just nothing good to approve. Adama Barrow came into power in 2018, but on the coalition that brought him into power, actually there was a clause into the coalition that Adama Barrow should only rule the country for 3 years. After the 3 years, he should hand over the power to another person who was also a designated person to take up the leadership of the country because they all form the coalition, and that person will lead the country into another election. Unfortunately, he reneged on what they arranged on and decided that he was not elected. And by virtue of that, he was not elected by the constitution to only rule for 3 years, rather for 5 years, and 5 years constitute a term. So he fell out with the party, ended up to create a political party on his own. Then he also formed a coalition with the dictator's party, that is Yahya Jammeh. And people were actually fearing that if Adama Barrow formed a coalition with Yahya Jammeh's party, it means he is now creating obstacle not to even investigate the former regime. And he said he is not creating, in fact, Yahya Jammeh is no longer the political head of the party. He is an ostracized person seeking asylum into Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, and those remain who are now in the Gambia also have the political right to join any political party or form coalition. It was on that premise that they actually won the election, because still Yahya Jammeh has huge amount of support into the Gambia. Now, after this could be arguably his final term into office, but constitutionally the Gambia do not have a presidential term limit. Now, certain people within the country are now carrying the notion that should he step down after his term, meaning they will now have the opportunity to lead the country on another level. However, he's saying those people who are saying so, they could probably be dreaming, because the Gambia does not have a presidential term limit. He has not just come out publicly to admit that he's going to contest another election, but based on his explanation, his explanation become ambiguous, and everybody's now trying to fish in whether Adama Barrow will be willing. Now, this is the unfortunate thing about Africa. We come with leaders into power to create a peculiar, maybe a very peculiar example where it has never been existing. It's the same thing that happened into Guinea when Alpha Conde committed a constitutional coup. Nobody touched him, nobody said anything about him. But when the military stood against him, everybody was just condemning Mamadi Doumbouya. They can tell you that the worst civilian government is the best military government. Now we are experiencing what is happening. So in the Gambia, their culture, and democracy also has a culture. The culture of dictatorial tendency into the Gambia will definitely lure Adama Barrow into forgetting about what came with him into power. It was the like of Ghana, the like of Senegal and Nigeria that fought for him. If we are not so, Yahya Jammeh refused to leave power. But when the Gambia does not even have a military that is up to 1,000 army. So the armed forces, we are not strong enough, so you have to relinquish power and leave. And this is very sad, and honestly speaking, I am not really happy with such development.
It's sad. Most time, Africa, our situation, when we compare to the West, to other developed countries outside our continent, we see it as something so sad. But I have a different view on the Gambian situation. No matter how evil they may describe, how the West or anti-Jammeh people will definitely describe him as a dictator, as it is, I have a different view.
Wow.
Yeah, because when Dawda Jawara was president, taking over from the colonial
independent leader,
took over from the colonial administration, he was there for about 30 years, and the deterioration at that time for Gambia was unspeakable. We go back to history, they went through tough times. They only managed to keep their head above water until an energetic young man with the support of colleague military officers who left the ECOWAS mission in Liberia to go home and redeem their country, probably 1994. They went home, they took over a dictator. They took over from a dictator, a man who had held the country under siege for a long time, blindfolded democracy, at the end of the day, the people jubilated, they celebrated. He was a dictator, yes, well, it's from the definition of term of dictator. But then he was loved by his people. He worked for his people. He increased the morale of Gambians. He established infrastructures. He increased national development. He actually ignited policy change that led to economic growth. And we saw economic development that encouraged tourism to boost the economy of Gambia. He is a soldier. He was a soldier, and once a soldier, always a soldier. So he has his military traits within. He cannot go away from that. He is security conscious. He is somebody that actually believes that the end actually justifies the means. Because whatever thing he does at the time he was in power, whatever he did was something he would have done to ensure that Gambia is safe, that Gambia do not experience a coup that will oust his regime, and that Gambia should continue to be one of the countries of envy in West Africa. You look at the natural resources they have. And the kind of development they have compared to Sierra Leone. Gambia was like a territory under Sierra Leone in the colonial administration.
Yeah, I agree.
Look where they are today. You look a lot of development. Gambia, the Yahya Jammeh administration was termed as a dictatorial administration. But basically, I don't want to talk about the claim of serial killing, the kidnapping, the other things they've seen, which I do not have claim evidence for.
Too.
Yeah, because somebody will say this is happening, but at the end of the day, the man will be passing in the streets of Gambia, and you see Gambians dancing and jubilating for him. So I know what the opposition can do. Now, if Adama Barrow was brought in on a ticket that they want to say no to dictatorship, they want to end the powerful reign, the supreme reign of Yahya Jammeh, they want to bring a fruitful, participatory democracy. And he had the ticket to do that. He came in. Whilst he was ushered in, he became something else. And now he's talking about it is evident that he is yearning for a third-term bid. So why was Yahya Jammeh overthrown? Because I will call that overthrown because the man, initially the results said he lost. But then his findings showed that he won. And he had wanted to go to...
But not when he considered defeat.
He considered defeat, and then later he said the result shows that he actually won, but the result has been manipulated, and he wants to go to court, and he was denied the opportunity to go to court.
He considered defeat, and he had all the machinery at his disposal.
And that was why
the election.
And that was why he actually wanted to go to court. He considered defeat because that was what the Electoral Commission said. That he
called
and because he believed the institution conducting the election is an independent institution. So when the result came out claiming that he lost, he definitely considered. But when his agents compiled everything and they saw the vast difference and they said you did not win, but there was a game played. So he said, I want to challenge this. I'm not sitting here now, but I'm going to court. And they said, no, you can't go to court. And he was now overthrown.
Anyway, the Yaya Jame issue in the Gambia will end up to kill our program. It's a very fantastic presentation. I admire because he came from the way I went, and I admire your point. Maybe I can just describe him like a benevolent dictator, but most of the development that he brought into the Gambia were also at the detriment of other people. Arguably, he did a lot. Of course, Sada Jara did a lot, but he created a culture of dictatorial regime into the Gambia. And I am afraid, but I have to confess that Adam and Barrow want to tour that land, and he could be abusing what actually came into it. And we should not end up seeing what happened into Guinea happening into the Gambia.
No, let me say something. Africa, it is sad today, but definitely the Western type of democracy is not meant for Africa.
It's not meant for Africa.
Now let's look at. Let's go back to just recall the Gaddafi era, in Libya.
North Africa.
In Libya. He was seen as a dictator, but look at the development he brought. And after the fall of Gaddafi, what is happening to Libya?
Exactly. Sometimes you have
Jammeh. Okay, Sheikh Touré was a dictator in Guinea. That was it. But after Sheikh Touré, the development, the Lansana Conte era, he was a military leader, but then look at that. Can you describe that as a democratic leader or a dictator? Yeah. How will you describe it? You also take into account Alpha Conde. When he was running for presidency, he used to be the best man, preaching democracy, crying foul, crying out loud, calling on international community for support to end dictatorship in his country. And after an election was conducted, I could remember there was a time he actually, after the result was announced, he had wanted to run out of the country, and the government grew suspicious. He was arrested along the Mali border, and he was sent to jail 2 years, and But at the end of the day, when he became president, what he did was also to manipulate the same constitution. So Africa, sometimes when people are there, you cry foul. But when you sit, what is happening now? Okay, let's go back to Ivory Coast. Let's go to Ivory Coast. Where it was
Gbagbo on the end of affairs, Equatorial demonstrated.
Yeah, it was
fun. There is running top time.
General Gay.
General Gay.
Yeah. He did everything to suppress Alassane Ouattara. And then at the end of the day, he said, okay, Alassane Ouattara, you're not about, I want democracy. And then he was looking for somebody. And the soft spot was Laurent Gbagbo. And he said, Laurent Gbagbo is a businessman, he's not popular, he's not a popular politician, so let me run with him so that when I flag him, definitely I will now become a civilian leader. And Gbagbo will run. And then at the end of the day, the Gambian, the Ivorians said, no, we will prefer any civilian to you. And they went ahead to vote for Laurent Gbagbo. And Gay said, this is unbelievable. This can't be. He had wanted to denounce that result and take over. So he saw what he saw, and he ended his life in a miserable way, which I don't want to talk about.
Absolutely.
And then Alassane Ouattara came. They say, he whose covenant has been broken by benevolent spirit should not forget to be humble. But unfortunately, Laurent Gbagbo took the power, but then he forgot. He had to be forced out of office in a way that was not that did not glorify his era. And at the end of the day, Ivorians died, properties destroyed, and a whole lot of things. And we saw Alpha Conde going for a third-term bid, manipulating the constitution to allow him to run. At the end of the day, there sits a military now in that place. We saw that in Nigeria in 1993. Chief Moshood Abiola.
Exactly.
In 1993, he was deprived of victory, and he went ahead announcing the result that he actually won. And then he was arrested for treason. He was sent to prison. He died in prison actually.
I can't say he was killed.
Yeah, what happened? that when he was arrested, the military went ahead to give a civilian, and that civilian was just a soft spot where Abacha just came in and took over that. So the story of Africa is just like that. People will say this is bad. At the end of the day, when they come in, they do something different. So, but the only thing, it's the people's choice. Let the people decide. If they think Barrow can go for the third time, you know what they fail to do. Yeah, Jammeh would have continued to run for presidency because there had been no term limit to their constitution. But then, if they have the men were following that election, the first assignment of the Parliament of the Gambia would have been to review the constitution and review the term limit to put it to 2 terms, which is now the best practice. That's what is happening in the United States, in Nigeria, in Sierra Leone, and other places. So a 5-year term times 2 is enough for a president. Your political party will continue, but at the end of the day, someone else may come and continue from where you stop, or maybe start something else. So that's what we are looking forward to. But Africa needs participatory democracy. But definitely, what we see people doing to sit in government in the name of opposing them is very, very crucial situation that an analyst will not just sit in an armchair and analyze the situation, describing heads of state as dictators or as demons. Basically, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to Nigeria. Bola Tinubu, or Asiwaju Bola Tinubu was elected on the presidential election that was conducted on the 25th of February 2023, and he was subsequently declared as a winner. We saw the like of Peter Obi from the Labour Party claiming that he won the election. Then also Atiku Abubakar, who has contested election for 6 consecutive times in Nigeria, and he lost everything. He's now in his 80s. The man who was elected is 72, and in case he runs for 2 terms, he will be leaving the throne at the age of 80. These are political friendly age. If you watch at it directly, it's more than that. So now Bola Tinubu is saying,
you don't have a
I don't have a claim, but physically I can conclude that it's older than that. Physically I can conclude. Okay, if we are going to judge appearance reality, maybe. Okay, but because he's not a man that is suffering from any poverty. You know, in Africa, poverty sometimes gets us aged than our real age. So let's watch at this. Bola Tinubu is saying to Nigeria, and I feel your pain. To the greatest surprise of Nigerians, he is the only president that was elected with minimum amount of valid vote, 37%. And if Bola Tinubu had contested this election 2 years back, he would have lost it. Because by then, Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar, we are in a coalition. If you combine the vote of Peter Obi and that of Atiku Abubakar, they would have given them, those votes would have given them around 66% of the total valid voters. Unfortunately, they did not form a coalition. The division worked in the way of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. Now, on his inauguration on the 29th of May, what he did, he removed the fuel subsidy into the country, saying those fuel subsidy we are creating more harm than good into the country. Because few individuals, according to him, we are benefiting from it. He has resulted into sacking the country's bank governor. Then, because they make an attempt to change the naira just the way they did in Sierra Leone, but unfortunately, theirs came at the apex time of their election, and it went up. There was liquid shortage of cash and pandemonium. Some bankers were even chased away into certain cities into Nigeria. Yesterday, or what he did yesterday, as you mentioned, this chief that won the election in 1994, he was denied. Abiola. Abiola was, they celebrated his death as Democracy Day. So it was yesterday that he said he feels the pain of Nigeria. Because Nigeria is now in fuel crisis. Because Nigeria is producing huge amount of fuel. Unfortunately, the fuel is not being produced into final goods into the country. They have to send it abroad. And when those fuel come back, the fuel is definitely at higher prices. But still, in Sierra Leone, we can complain much because of our earning capacity, and at the same time, we are not producing any fuel. But if they are buying fuel according to the standard of Sierra Leoneans are buying, they will complain more than we are doing. But we are now using it because we do not have any fuel as a product. He's saying he feels the pain of Nigeria. But this money that was being subsidized for the fuel will be used to improve the health system, education, improve infrastructure, fight against corruption, and end the chaotic situation that is now being led into the country by Boko Haram, IPOB. We talk about Islamic State of West Africa, the movement for the emancipation of the people of the Niger Delta, like those Biafra people. Then we also have seen banditry is on the increase into Nigeria, kidnapping for ransom, all of those things around. He's saying that it's going to improve on those sectors. But I am very critical about this sectarian. He's now in his 70s. Because by the time he leaves office, he will be 18. But he's not that physically strong. And Nigeria needs somebody, not an astute leader, but that astute leader should also be physically strong. Unfortunately, this man is old to understand that he cannot even transfer the entire country. Even if he'll be moving in the flight, it's very difficult for him. And after he won the election, he said he's going in France, Paris, on holiday. He left for London. I also finally ended his destination in Saudi Arabia before ever he could make his way back into Nigeria. It was widely claimed that he was actually on the trip for medication. Now, watching at Nigeria, the election system was deeply frauded, and the voter system that they set up ended up to corrupt everything. And the synergy about everything is that the voter system could not report election result for the presidential election, but both the Senatarian and National House of Representatives were reported, which indicated that it was a well-orchestrated system syndicated by some selfish and unscrupulous people to ensure that Bola Tinubu comes into power. And he definitely came into power. But now that old man is definitely going to lead a country that is in total chaotic situation. And we do not only need intelligent leaders, but strong people who are hard-headed. We need people with astute leadership mentality to lead Africa. Unfortunately, this is what we are seeing today in Nigeria.
Wow. The analysis is convincing, it's captivating, but basically it's the business of the Nigerians. A very young people have done some good in the past, but young people also have deceived nations.
I agree.
So their age ain't nothing but a number. But on a serious note, there are a lot of scholars, a lot of intelligent people, a lot of wealthy people, a lot of economic minded people or socio-economists in Nigeria, and their votes, most of them overwhelmingly voted for the current president. Some might have voted for their political party. And there's something we always downplay. The issue of partisan and tribal backgrounds are very, very significant. If we can just fly over to the United States to recall what happened, the Donald Trump Republican beat for the second term.
Yeah.
Just look at what happened with the condemnation, the criticism against Donald Trump across the world. He enjoyed the support of his political party.
About 70 million people voted for him.
So you look at what that means. So people are not just voting for individuals, they are voting for political parties. Then look at Sierra Leone. It is election time. You see, even small political parties are going around convincing people. Their messages, although they talk about economic messages, the message is based on the economy. But mainly, they are either promoting or criticizing tribal or regional sentiments. That is just a secret. You may have somebody you see is very intelligent. It could be a lecturer, it could be somebody working in high places. But basically, when it comes to politics, even if you tell them that the sky is blue, they will say no, the sky can't be blue. Yeah, they will tell you from the point where they are now, because it is cloudy, they will say it is silver, because they know that the silver has covered the blue. So what they look at, they will look at an issue to talk about the issue, talk about issue they know it's minor, it's not fundamental, but they will make it an issue presenting a way to cover up. So basically that is politics. Now you talk about Nigeria, people voted mainly from my analysis. They voted mainly for the political party, because this man, as an engine, as somebody who had done so great for his political party, and they said it is payback time. And then on the other issue, what I realized that Nigeria, you talk about the Yoruba and the Hausa versus the Igbo. You have the young people around shouting, you know, train light to Obi. But then the majority tribes, the Hausa and Yoruba, if they do not favor you, it's difficult. When you come to Sierra Leone, we recall 2007. If the election in Sierra Leone was to be conducted in May 2007, Charles Magai would have won
clearly.
Because at that time he had the support of the APC, because there were a lot of disgruntled elements in the party at that time, because the party leaders, very important leaders within the party, had wanted to reject Ernest Bai Koroma. So they said, if you are rejecting Ernest Bai Koroma, then we'll join PMDC because it's a new force. PMDC enjoyed that not until when Tijan Kabat decided to defer the election to August. And that from May, June, July, the marriage between PMDC and APC became very significant, and that marriage eroded the support of the PMDC. What happened? The SLPP people were telling the Southeasterner that we told you Magai was going to take you to the APC. And Magai is taking you to the APC, and that is what you are seeing. Because at that time, every gathering of the APC, they invited Charles Magai. Every PMDC meeting, they invited Ernest Bai Koroma at that time. So basically, the APC started campaigning now that this guy, they want to take Magai's party, want to take you back to SLPP. So the Northerner left the party and came back to APC, because they said they are still placed like home. The Southeasterner, the SLPP was campaigning that you, the Southeasterners in the PMDC, Magai is taking you to APC. And they said, no, it's better to be home. So they actually left the party and returned to SLPP. And at the end of the day, in August, the election results showed that it was a contest between now APC and the SLPP instead of PMDC. PMDC had no choice but to join forces with the opposition at that time, the APC, and APC won.
Absolutely.
So they fell apart immediately, whether on power sharing or development that unfolded after the election could not promote the marriage, the political marriage. So basically the alliance ended. Most of those guys who benefited from the power sharing deal never returned to the PMDC again. They had, Charles Magai lost control of his men. Most of them we know are prominent personnel or officials of the APC even up to today. Of course, few of them have this time around returned to SLPP for this 2023 June elections. So that's the development. Politics, you cannot take away tribalism, regionalism from politics. When it comes to presidential election, like the Sierra Leone constitution, no independent candidate has right to contest. So you must belong to a political party. And political parties are actually founded, the two main political parties in Sierra Leone, the EPC and the SFDP, are founded on two distinct lines, the North and the Southeast. So basically that's it. You can't take that away. So our other political parties coming up, if the political party is formed from the North, you know it is feeding on the APC support. If it is founded in the Southeast, you know it's feeding on the SLPP support. So those big parties will do everything to suppress those political parties. You may end up throwing support or forming an alliance or coalition with them. So that is what we see happening. And in Nigeria, you talk about coalition. You know, Peter Obi, his tribal background or his regional background coming into the contest, contesting the Yoruba and the Hausa. For example, the Hausa, they've been there throughout the military era from the end of the 70s onto the Abacha regime of 1998. So you can't take those things away. Even you go back to the generals that were taking over. They could be, just call them. Yeah. So there are people from the north, and you can say the Hausa. Obasanjo, I think it's Yoruba.
It's Yoruba,
yeah. But all the other, the former president,
maybe Muhammadu Buhari was the military leader. So it's a very, very interesting system. Okay, then we'll try to go into Sudan, as we are definitely out of time. The reign in terror in part of Sudan. Unfortunately, Sudan, since the start of April, around April the 15th, Sudanese people went into political crisis when the two generals fell apart on who to lead the country, when finally democracy will be fed into the country. War have been taking place over there. Over 2,000 people now have been killed, women have been raped, citizens have been detained, there is no schooling. Then some parts of the country, there is no network system in terms of internet. Some areas do not even have water, there is no light system. Terror is just all over. Now there is arson. Men have been forcibly conscripted into the army. Some of them have been tortured. The United Nations is actually praying and hoping that, because they have not resorted to prayer, because all sorts of negotiations definitely have fallen on deaf ears, and nobody knows when the Sudanese people crisis will definitely end. So we'll get down into South Africa. In South Africa, we have Magashule, who was actually the ANC African National Congress former Secretary General. He was actually suspended from the party 2 years ago when he alleged that Cyril Ramaphosa was corrupt, and he demanded for his resignation. Cyril Ramaphosa retaliated by saying that his action was a misconduct, and suspended him from the political party, that is the ANC. And in South Africa, unfortunately, the ANC constitution is even bigger than the country's national constitution. And since Nelson Mandela came into power something around 1993, the ANC has definitely been on the helm of affairs, and they have the power to even recall the president should you be found guilty of certain offenses. We saw that with Thabo Mbeki when Jacob Zuma succeeded him, and we have seen that with Jacob Zuma when Cyril Ramaphosa succeeded him. So now Cyril Ramaphosa has been normally accused on different things in terms of corruption, but he has managed to exonerate himself. And in fact, before, Thabo Mbeki has wanted to even take power and hand over it to Ikuzena Dlamini Zuma, his former wife, but they told him that maybe political power is not transferred through sex or intercourse, so he should forget about that. So it was definitely redone. Ikuzena Dlamini Zuma actually acted once as the chairperson of AU, that is the African Union. Unfortunately, that country has fallen apart, and people are seeing and thinking that Magashule is from the Jacob Zuma wing. And now that he has been expelled, it's like nobody will definitely come and exonerate Jacob Zuma. Jacob Zuma was involved in the state captured like the Indian Gupta family he involved, and he even built a condominium on his own, which was a very bad precedent set up into the country. So we are observing situation like that, and we pray and hope that South Africa and South Africa unfortunately is a xenophobic nation. After everything that other Africans did to ensure that apartheid regime was ended into the country, it came at the detriment of other people's life. Today, each time the South African feel suppressed, their government fail to fulfill their social contract. What they normally do, they end up to suppress, attack, rape, kill, and commit arson against people of race into the country. And most people of race into the country are actually black. Excuse me, and still we are seeing apartheid regime on the hem of affairs into the country, a very stronger one, and it's a condemnable act. We come into DRC Congo. Of course, rebels into DRC Congo have actually killed 40 people. They hacked them to death. Let me just read it. They say militiamen from a group known as the CODECO, Corporation for Development of the Congo, have been blamed for an attack on the camp of displaced people in the east of Democratic Republic of Congo that left over 40 people hacked to death. Local officials said the group stormed Lala camp early on Monday. They shot and hacked residents before setting their bodies on fire. Some of those inside were burned to death. In the latest attack by the group, which claims to defend the interests of the Lendu farmers, tens of thousands of people have fled, outlaying the villages in recent weeks to seek shelter in town of Buli, where UN peacekeepers are stationed. Unfortunately, this is about Africa. If you go down the nook and crannies of Africa, almost everything that happened is very bad. So finally, let's end in Ghana. Ghana back as Africa's top gold mine or gold producer. Fantastic. It will take on by South Africa. However, there is also fear that gold mining is being done into South Africa. Illegal gold mining is found into the country. But Ghana has now regained its status as Africa's top gold producing country. However, there is fear that should the illegal gold mining continue, then Ghana will even end up to import pure drinking water into their country. Because majority of the country's youth are unemployed, and they see illegal gold mining the easiest way for them to have their daily bread, and you definitely cannot blame them. Man by nature, we can react to survive, whatsoever means we have to do in order for us to survive. That is why they are claiming. And Ghana has resorted to even take the army to mine this gold mine, but most of those army are underpaid, so they be even create a gun or a syndicate for them to be digging this gold so that they can amass money overnight. So the government has tried that. Maybe what Labour or what WHO and others are advising, they should create a platform where you can be employed. If you can be employed, then this gold can be mined legally, and maybe the country may not. Even farming, most of the farmlands are being dug. Some villages, in fact, there are certain villages. If a gold is being, if this area is designated as a possible area where gold is found, they can even break that particular house and ensure that the gold is being dug. So all of those things are around. Maybe it's a fantastic idea. They have regained their status. Unfortunately, because of the government's failure to obey their social contract, it is creating more problems. Now, in fact, in some part of May last year, there was a hashtag to Ghana, fix our economy. And most people were demonstrating against John Dramani Mohammed after he failed the election. Now we are seeing Nana Akufo-Addo on the helm of affairs because Dramani came into the helm of affairs, or the leader of Ghana, when Professor John Atta Mills died into office. Dramani came into power, but he completed the term of his president, stood for another election, he won, but by the time he decided to go in for the second round, he was defeated by Nana Akufo-Addo. Nana Akufo-Addo has defeated him on 2 occasions. Now they have elected Eben John Dramani Mohammed to still run for the presidential election. But his track record are definitely not good. He's a young man, maybe vibrant and orator. He knows how to do, but Ghanaians do not trust him as the aged people. Maybe we, the youth in Africa, need to be very careful on how we handle our affairs, because for far too long we have been governed by generations where our fathers hailed from. Unfortunately, most of the young people who have taken on power into Africa did it through the barrel. It was never a democratically elected president.
The democracy. When I was following the situation in Ghana following their previous election, where former President Mahama party took election result, election petition to the Supreme Court when they were presenting that. You know, he only went a term and then he lost the election in a bid to regain his glory. He lost and he went to court. There you saw lawyers doing presentation. At the most time, people are not fully prepared. They underrate situation, not until the situation get them striking before they realize that it is too late. It's the problem of Africans. It's a serious problem. People talk about democracy, but most time, there's something I can always say. In what we call democracy is mere nepotism. People just favor, people vote sentiment. In Sierra Leone, for example, like any other country, we always pray when it is time for election. We ask God, oh, give us the best president, give us the best chief in our village, give us the best MP in our area. Yeah, that's what we pray for. And then when the people, oh, give us, let's vote for somebody that will develop this place. But at the end of the day, are we actually voting for the best person, or we are voting for the one we love? We are just voting for someone we like. Because sometimes when you even look at manifestos, or when you look at candidates, it's not only about presidency, even council or parliamentary position. That you talk about the legislative candidates. You put them on the scale, you actually know that this candidate A is far better than candidate B. Candidate A is educated, is exposed, his personal life, the way he takes care of his family, the way he interacts with people. But if he comes from tribe X, and tribe X is a tribe you don't like, and tribe X are the dominant tribe in party F. So because of his tribe and his political party, you will not vote him. And you vote for somebody, at the end of the day, you start going out in the street to misbehave. And we see that even in paramount chieftaincy election, somebody will come because he's from this ruling house and you want the chieftaincy to remain at your own ruling house, in a village, in a chiefdom. That's what we see. Somebody will come very exposed, somebody who may have done a lot of development on that. He might have brought in development projects to the community, to the chiefdom. But because he's coming from a ruling house that is not popular, a ruling house that has some background that is not going in line with the majority of or the electorate, majority of the electorate. It could be electoral college. You know, basically that's the situation. So at the end of the day, the community will vote for a paramount chief. Just after a year in office or less, they will start to grumble. They will start complaining, and they will complain till that paramount chief dies, because it's a lifetime position. So this is the only thing of thing. So in a participatory democracy, people are voting for who they like, not the best candidate. That's what I can always say.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been me, Edward Amara, focus on Liberia, West African correspondent, and Nasiruddin Kroma, a veteran civil society activist, journalist, a freelancer who has been into this system for quite a long time. However, I wouldn't do you justice if I fail to read your text messages, your comment before leaving. We have Doric Paul saying, good luck to our brothers in Sierra Leone. Our brothers and sisters in Sierra Leone, maybe for the pending elections slated for the 24th of June 2023. Then Jefferson Doe is saying, Africa is naturally rich and virgin, while we continuously live a life of destitution due to bad governance and insincerity. I perfectly agree. We pray and hope that maybe young people will definitely come and try to set a space that have never been set into our continent. Unfortunately, our system is lagging behind, maybe because of bad governance an adopted way system of governance. That is a democracy. Of course, we know if you watch at the world at large, especially Europe, Europe did not develop with democracy. They developed with fascism. They developed with different type of governance systems.
But just look at the world.
Exactly. So,
I used to be can I say a proponent of
democracy,
of capitalist
capitalism. I'm telling you something.
But what I've come to realize is that the democracy practice with the capitalist economic system definitely is not helping majority of countries practicing it. You find out that where communist countries, socialist countries are now doing so great, they are strengthening their economy. Just look at China. Just look at Russia. The whole world against Russia. And look where they are.
Doing vastly good than any other person.
When they said Gaddafi was a dictator, he said they were practicing socialism.
Even the Asian tigers, can you talk about Malaysia, Hong Kong, China? They are doing better. Are they running democracy?
Even North Korea.
North Korea is
a communist state. They are still doing well. So you look at Saudi Arabia. They said that also between them and the United States on democratic good governance, which they want the kingdom to adopt, maybe gradually or whatever. It's difficult. We are doing what we do is electoral democracy. We only talk about democracy when we talk about election. But after election, institutions that should be strengthening, the institutions, the electoral management bodies that are to be strengthened to ensure that they have the capacity to control, to regulate democratic activities and to control electioneering are weak. Just after election, they forget about them. They only donate to them when it is few months to election. You now see the ECSL, the PPRC in our own country, or like you go to Liberia, you go to Ghana, because we are following. In Gambia, it's the same thing. Where Yahya Jammeh lost the election when he was chased out of his country. What I expected the Barrow regime to do during the first term was to ensure that they have positive review of the laws of Gambia, to ensure that no room exists for dictatorship. And now Adam Barrow is becoming something else. If you are going for third term, Alpha Conde attempted a third term bid. He won it, and then the military kicked him out. The situation in Mali, the world sitting looking at them because of that. You go to Burkina Faso, you go to Chad, like you are talking about Congo. Just look at the development. Kenya is a country that I admire. Look at what happened. The president said, Raila Odinga has been challenging me has challenged this presidency for over six times. And he actually contested with my father. And today he has contested with me once or twice. So basically, let me give him this opportunity. Maybe he has something to deliver. The political party said, this political party denied him. They say, you may want this man. We are not looking at the man. We are looking at our party. If he wants, he can come and join our party. But then that man will not resolve his party.